Pardon me while I have a strange interlude. There is nothing else. Life is an obscure hobo bumming a ride on the omnibus of art. In the misty corridors of time, and in those corridors I see figures, strange figures.
Welcome back, my friends, to the AP Strange Show. I'm your host, AP Strange. This is my show, and today's show is brought to you by Transylvanian Cruise Lines. Enjoy the quietude and peace of mind being out at sea on Transylvania Cruise Lines. You may find that the other attendants on the boat with you will become less and less intrusive, or just less and less there at all as you continue your journey. And certainly no shady doings on these trips, and nobody's dying and nothing is bad. So sign up for Transylvania Cruise Lines today. So today on the show, I have a very appropriate guest, the one and only Captain Vampire of Nick Paraggio. He's a Boston musician and a songwriter, and really interesting subject matter in the songs. The song lyrics are really cool. I had the great pleasure of just stumbling upon Nick and Captain Vampire performance in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I was really kind of blown away by it, because it's like not often that I hear lyrics where I go, wait, I know what he's talking about. I know what those words are. Like, I know what the song's about. So, currently working on and ready to perform an exciting project, which is related to our sponsor today. So welcome to the show, Nick. Thanks for coming on.
AP, it's great to be here. Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as I was saying before we were recording, you were kind of on a short list of people I did want to invite, because I'm always looking for, kind of really unique guests to have on, and just based on seeing you play live, and then also listening to your Bandcamp and all the songs that were on there, and then following along and keeping up with it the past, I don't know, I guess it's now a year or 2 years.
Yeah,
Since,
probably about 2 years.
right, that I saw you. And just endlessly interesting, especially the types of subjects you cover. So I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the evolution of the Captain Vampire project, because it seems like it's gone through a few steps with each recording project.
Absolutely. That is an understatement.
Right.
So, speaking of that show in Worcester, I still have your Wheel of Fortune pin on my guitar strap. It's
Oh,
my bottom pin.
cool.
You said it was lucky, so I take it at every show. So you made an impression. I just want you to know that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I started making music and calling it Captain Vampire in 2019. Um, and the first record I put together was really kind of the sound of me learning how to make a record.
Hmm.
Um, I was living in central New York, like 40 minutes outside of Albany into the northern Catskills or so. And I was listening to a lot of the stuff I had been listening to as a teenager, a lot of My Chemical Romance. I was getting more into power metal. I
Hmm.
discovered Visigoth, were a Salt Lake City power metal band who is just super fun.
Cool.
Um, and I was also, getting better at digital sound stuff, and I was just kind of throwing a bunch of shit at the wall. And the first record was a concept album about accidentally summoning a demon. So the lines of occultism have always been there, um, just presented in a way that's musically very different. I moved to Boston in fall of 2021,
Hmm.
and clubs were starting to open back up, house venues were starting to open back up, after the pandemic, and I I kind of accidentally became a folk punk musician because it turns out that when you go to shows, I didn't have a band yet. I was just me, um, and I was playing acoustic guitar at these shows because I wanted to fill out the sound a little bit more.
Right.
So the acoustic was kind of a natural choice because it's just kind of richer and it's more percussive also, so you can get away with more without a drummer. And it turns out that when you play like punk and post-hardcore and emo songs with an acoustic guitar, people tell you that you're a folk punk
Yeah.
artist.
Right. Kind of by default, you just
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of got this like accidental reputation as a folk punk musician, and I was like, all right, this is what we're doing. So I was getting more interested in history. I wrote an EP all about history that has your friend and mine, Aleister Crowley, featured prominently on one of the songs,
Right.
um, on the receiving end of W.B. Yeats's Foot.
Yeah.
Uh, and after that, I that was the big history project. I still write a little bit about history. There's some
Hmm.
recent history songs too, but I did an EP about pigeons. I wanted to do some pigeon things, so I put out four tracks on pigeons exclusively. I think that was 2023. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure,
Yep.
or
Yeah, I listened to that
2022.
one today. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it holds up. I think the bird songs hold up.
They're really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And then I kind of got this like little bug in my head, in maybe late 2022, maybe middle of 2022. Um, I came late to Bram Stoker's Dracula. Everybody knows it by reputation, but I hadn't actually read the book
Hmm.
until I think the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And I just kind of had it in my head, and there's this brief aside in the book where it's the ship's log of the boat that's taking Dracula's coffin from the Bulgarian port of Varna, because you can't get to Transylvania from Transylvania to England overland because you have to go over the mountains and it sucks. So you
Hmm.
go to Bulgaria and then around the Black Sea, through the Mediterranean, and up the coast by like Spain and France. And
Right.
that's how Bram Stoker wrote The Journey. I don't know what
Hmm.
people actually would have done, but there were shipping routes and stuff, so he probably looked at that, or maybe he didn't. But
Yeah.
that's the that's the part of the book that really stuck with me because it's just so abruptly different from the rest of the thing,
Hmm.
and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I wrote a couple songs, um, kind of in the style that I was writing the songs about history and pigeons and stuff,
Hmm.
about um, about being on a small ship with Dracula,
Nice.
and that kept sticking in my head for another 2.5, 3 years until I couldn't take it anymore, and I put Captain Vampire on hiatus. I learned to write in the third person, and I spent 8 months writing a 40-minute third person epic poem thing,
Hmm.
uh, about this very brief part of Dracula. So that's kind of been what I've been up to
Right.
for the last year or so.
So this is
Uh,
the ship, the Demeter, from
yes, the Demeter.
and they made a movie about that a few years ago too.
They
How did you
did.
feel about that when the movie came out? Because it's like you're kind of obsessing and making this epic poem, but then now there's the Voyage of the Demeter movie, which I haven't got around to watching yet, but I heard it was okay.
I also heard it was okay. By
Yeah,
that time, I had already written 3 songs
yeah,
about it, and I was like, no way am I watching this movie. I can't
yeah.
have that be what's in my head.
Right. You don't want to
Um,
contaminate the process. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I didn't even know I was going to turn it into anything, and I was still like, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah,
Well, it's
and
crazy the timing, where you're sometimes I feel like things are just in the air and different people are picking up on it at the same time, you know?
Yeah, and it's weird how like certain ideas will persist over long periods of time, right? Because there are there are so many ideas that I have and I'm like, "Ooh, that's a great idea. I should write some music about it." And then I wake up the next morning and it's vanished from my life.
Yeah,
Um, but I think something with sticking power, it encourages me to believe in it because part of me is clearly already believing in it if I'm still thinking about it.
right. Yeah. Well, with hindsight for stuff that I've done in the past, I can say confidently that those things sometimes will take years to come back. It can be like 10 years, and then you're like, hey, I remember having this idea once. Why don't I do that finally? So
Yeah, yeah,
they never really go away. Um, the good ones don't anyway.
yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I really believe in egging people on when they're on a tear like that. My spouse um, has had this idea. I think it's such a great idea, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna hype it up to you, even though this project doesn't exist yet, because it's such a good
Okay.
idea, and I love to hype.
All
Um,
right.
uh, of an EP that's from the perspective of horror movie final girls, and each song is a different character.
All right. I'm already sold, but
Yeah, it's a good idea. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna send her this podcast when we're done recording. And man, I
yeah,
feel
I'm already
like
sold on that idea. People would eat that up. You could bring it to
yes,
horror cons and things.
exactly. There's a community that's
Right.
it's the thing.
Yeah. Well,
Just like
and
I can
then
take my weird Dracula thing around.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I find it interesting personally here. The name Captain Vampire preceded this idea or this project.
Oh, by
Well, or
years.
preceded your interest in Dracula, right?
Yeah, like fully. Yeah,
So
I'm not.
where did you come up with the name Captain Vampire?
Not a lot of people know this. I'm named after a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Captain Vampire by Marina Zay. It is a also kind of a foundational gothic horror text. The Captain Vampire in the book is like a evil bastard military officer, and
Hmm.
he's not like made super like explicitly supernatural, but there's like vibes going on, but like there's deniability there. Um, so I'd hesitate to like really call it a proper vampire novel because
Okay,
you don't see the action,
but it has
but
the word in it in the
it has
title.
the word in it, and it's such a good title. It's such a
Right.
good name, and it's in the public domain.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's crucial when you're gonna use it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
when was it written?
Oh, geez, it was written in the 1880s or 90s.
Okay,
Um,
so
I
maybe
don't.
even before Dracula.
Yeah, it predated Dracula.
Okay, yeah. Wow, very interesting.
Yeah, and
Um,
Marina Zay was like 17. Very cool
huh,
story.
wow. Well, I mean, Mary Shelley wasn't very old when she wrote Frankenstein, and that also has the ship in it. The ship's log. So
People yearn for boat time.
I know. Well, I do it too. When I'm thinking of metaphors, I always go to the ocean for some reason, and
You're a
it's
real
just a
New
good
Englander.
place. Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's part of it. I'm a New Englander. I've always lived here. So,
me too. Except for
well,
that brief period I lived in New York.
oh, okay, all right. So you grew up in New England?
Yeah, I'm from Nashua. I'm from Nashua, New Hampshire.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
So I've always been in the greater Boston area. I moved to New York. I went to college in New York, and then I worked in New York for a couple of years, and then moved back.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Um. So where did? Well, there's a lot of places I can go with this, but where did the interest in history come from, and specifically like weird history? Because there are the occult themes. Are you a practicing magician or? is it more of an interest in that, or is it more historical?
Well, I think the answer to that question is going to depend a lot on the time of my life that
Right.
I'm describing. I was I was totally a witchcraft kid.
Okay.
Um, like I had a pretty managed media diet as a child. Like my parents were very uh, not like I wouldn't say they were oppressively censorship, uh,
Hmm.
sort of thing, but there was definitely a lid on, like, I wasn't reading uh, really crazy stuff as a kid. But I always had an interest.
Mm.
Um, I remember, like, as a middle schooler, like, trying to invent my own secret codes and languages and like doing weird rituals to see if I could like tap into anything. And I was a child, and then I fell out of it, and then I had a mystical experience in college, um, and that kind of threw me. Uh, it was a profound moment of reflection in my life.
Hmm.
And that kind of reignited my interest in spirituality, especially non Christian spirituality, um, especially in occultism and in the history of religion, also.
Yeah.
Um, I'm in graduate school right now after a long absence from learning
Mm.
for historical musicology. So I love me a tome.
Yeah.
I love to get my dirty hands on a tome
Right.
and plumb its depths. So it's it's an inclination that's been with me for a long time. But a lot of the history stuff specifically, whether it's the occult history or the history of religion stuff, and there's history of religion stuff that's like buried in some of the things that's like not necessarily obvious
Okay.
that I can discuss. But a lot of it, I'm also like a recreational Wikipedia diver, so
Right.
that scratches a lot of the day to day itch for me. Like that's uh, my scrolling fix is
Mm.
Wikipedia link jumping.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then also finding the citations and like tracking those down, especially if the PDF's online, and then looking at it and reading the original sources. I love that.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah. I have a lot of tomes around here that came from something like that, where I followed a trail of citations, and then I'm like, all right, this book exists. I can find it, and I'll find it somewhere in the world and end up with it in my collection. You know.
I've had that exact experience. I was on the trail of this really specific 17th century lute music manuscript
Mhm.
for 8 or 9 months um, because it has some really specific things in it that were at the time very interesting to me
Mhm.
because of their implications for how particular styles of music are played today. And I was on the trail of this manuscript, and it was published in this like dead Belgian publisher in the 70s, and then never published again.
Mhm.
Um, and then somebody that I knew, I was over at her house. My lute teacher, I'm a lute player,
Right.
um, and she was getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and she was like, "You want to look in the boxes and see if you want anything?" And I was like, "Of course, I want to look in the boxes. I love boxes." And she had it
That's
all
yeah.
this time. She had a spare copy of this obscure facsimile of this 17th century lute manuscript. I was like, why?
That's fantastic. Yeah. I
It's
mean, those like serendipitous moments, and then you're so excited about it, and it's hard to explain to people. you know.
Yes, yes. Because like it would take a long digression to explain like why this thing is like been on my mind for months and months and months and months. But then it just pops into your life and whoa, cool.
Right.
Brussels Codex 704 in my life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And also, yeah, I meant to mention it in your introduction that you're a lute player, because I did want to get into that. So where did that come from? How did you come to learn the lute? And are there a lot of people doing that these days?
You know, there are more than anybody expects.
Okay.
Uh, not a lot,
Right.
not a lot, but more than anyone expects. So when I was in college, I studied music. I was a music education major. I was a public school music teacher
Hmm.
for a couple of years. That's what I was doing in New York State. So I was introduced to lute music as a listener in one of my music history courses as an impressionable 18-year-old or something.
Hmm.
And I just thought it sounded nice. I thought it was cool. I had a very stressful work life. Um, I was the sole vocal music teacher in a small rural school district,
Hmm.
um, teaching pre-K through 12, my first year of teaching.
Wow. So that's a
And
lot of kids, right?
it's a lot of kids, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of different needs.
Yeah.
Um, so lute music kind of became my relax, everything's going to be okay, there are no children yelling at you right now music.
Okay.
And I made up my mind, like gradually, that I wanted to pay off my student loans and then buy a lute
Mhm.
and learn the lute. And so I worked for a couple of years. We were living in the middle of nowhere, and rent was like $400 a month.
Nice.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, you
split
can't find
between.
that in Boston. Yep.
No. Yeah, yeah, it was $800 for the top floor of this walk up, and I was splitting it two ways.
Mhm.
So I was living real cheap,
Yeah,
and yeah, and I did it. I saved up over a while. Lutes are terrifyingly expensive.
right.
Um, yeah, and
And I imagine not super easy to find, right?
no, no, you have to
Or,
usually get them from an old man or something.
or have repaired if something goes wrong. I imagine that's difficult too. Have you had to learn how to do like minor repairs yourself or
Yeah, so fortunately, there's a guy in Lowell who is a very, very good oud builder.
oh
Um, and lutes are kind of like ouds in that they have a bowl back and a spruce top. So the skills for fixing them are pretty transferable.
yeah,
Um, so I've worked with him a little bit. One of the ways that I afforded a lute was I got like a pretty shitty lute
yeah.
um, that had not been really cared for very well. Um, so I took it to him and he was very helpful. And then over the last couple of years, I've been getting more comfortable doing repairs and stuff. I now have a whole herd that I've been tinkering on, and I'm actually building one right now.
Oh,
Uh,
excellent. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I got piles of wood just underneath my instrument stands over there. Yeah, which will hopefully over the course of several months turn into a playable instrument.
Awesome. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's going to be a difficult thing to do if you're um you're in the city. Do you have like a workspace that you can build something where you are? Or
Well, there are a couple like maker spaces that have band saws and planers and
cool.
things like that that'll speed my life up a little bit. But people back in the day weren't making instruments with power tools. Lutes started getting built in Europe in like the 12 or 1300s.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Probably
that's
earlier,
true.
honestly. But
Yeah.
that's when we have the first pictures of them.
Yeah.
And
I guess I'm thinking more about like the polyurethaning process and finishing where you might need like a ventilated area to let it dry and stuff.
Yeah.
The curing
Uh,
process there. Yeah.
yeah. The nice thing about being in like historical instrument land is people tend to go for less caustic sorts of things like that. Like
Hmm.
people use traditional hide glue and like mm, less less toxic varnishes and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go crazy. There are dudes who spend years and years and years on their varnish recipe with
Yeah.
like boiling turpentine and dirt together and stuff. And it makes a beautiful looking instrument, but I'm just gonna do shellac probably.
But right. Yeah.
Because you can just dump that in some Everclear and you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's much safer. But I guess I didn't consider that. I mean, I don't know that I've ever actually seen a lute in person, so it's just it's a it's a mystery to me. I played guitar for years, my sense of it is that it's very very different from playing guitar. Do you find it confusing going from one to the other?
Initially, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because the left hand is very similar. Like a lot of the chord shapes aren't the same, but they're close enough
Mm,
that you can just be like, okay, we're in a weird alternate tuning. But the thing that rocked me, like totally destabilized my whole life, was the right hand is totally different.
mm,
Like even from like fingerstyle guitar playing, the right hand is totally different because the strings are doubled. So
right.
you have to pluck in a way that gets you a good sound from both strings without clattering and clanging and making all sorts of ruckus.
Yeah, that's tough. So do you
Yeah.
have to mute strings with your palm like you would on a guitar, or are you just trying to avoid hitting them accidentally?
You just try to avoid hitting them accidentally most of the time. It's definitely more of a plucker than a strummer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I watched some of the videos on your Instagram of you playing, and I guess this is something you do regularly. You have a regular gig playing lute in Boston.
Yeah, I'm probably I'm gonna qualify this heavily by saying, as far as I know, I'm probably one of the more regularly, more consistently employed lute players in Boston. I don't have the good gigs, but I have the very steady gigs, which is, kind of winning by attrition.
Right. No, no, like I got the impression I should have looked at this beforehand just now, but I got the impression these are kind of like board game nights that you're playing at, like cafes where they do, or not board games, but like tabletop gaming and stuff. Am
Yeah,
I
yeah.
far off?
Yeah, so there's a this the specific place I have a biweekly residency at a board game cafe in Brookline.
Cool.
So it's tabletop gaming, it's board gaming, it's people who want to be like drinking coffee around weird people,
Hmm.
um, and I'm happy to oblige. And I just cold emailed them like a year ago, and I was like, "Hey gang, you thought about having a lute player?" And they were like, "No, we haven't thought about having a lute player. That sounds so sick."
Right. But now we can't stop thinking about it. So
Yeah, yeah. And you just got to put that little bug in their head and let them go wild, you know?
right. Yeah.
And now I
So
have a
how many
job.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. It is sometimes you have to make the space for yourself, you know. So
Yeah,
if it
because
doesn't exist, make it, you know.
people don't imagine that they like the lute until you got a lute player in front of you and you're like, "Whoa, this is sick."
Yeah. um yeah, that's well, okay. So how many instruments do you play? Because we covered guitar and lute, but I feel like I've seen either pictures or video of you playing other instruments too. And I think in the notes for your recordings. So how many total? Because I'm always fascinated by multi instrumentalists, especially ones that can also sing really well.
Well, thank you. I compensate for being a good singer by not being very good at most of the instruments I play. Um,
All right.
so the things that I actively gig with, I play mandolin, harmonium, and trumpet in Connor Storms and His Bouquet, which is a cool little folk rock sort of band.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty good on those. I play a little bit of piano, enough to like hack through extra keyboard arrangements, or I can read piano music very slowly. I'm just like I read music very well, but I'm very bad at reading music with both hands at the same
Yeah,
time. That
right.
throws me off so bad. I'm a pretty good bass player. Um, I was the I was in my high school marching band, but I didn't really like playing the trumpet, which was my main instrument, and I didn't really like marching.
Hmm.
So I talked them into having me play the electric bass in the marching band.
Hmm.
And you might be thinking, there's no electric bass in a marching band, and there wasn't until there was. Um,
I'm
so
sensing a theme here.
you just got to make the pitch, you know?
Right.
There's a lot of pitches that I've made that people have not wanted to go with, but some of them they do.
Right. It's worth a try. It's always
It's
worth a
worth a
try.
try. Yeah. I also play percussion a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and what else? I think those are the big ones.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I played trumpet in high school, and I was made to march because there weren't very many trumpet players, so they needed everyone they could get.
We
Um,
had like 20 trumpet players.
yeah. Well, there was like three or four, and I went to a very small high school, so uh, but I can say confidently that marching with a trumpet kind of sucks because it's hard to see where you're going. You really have to
Yeah.
be following the person in front of you. Um, and because there's a little clip-on music stand in front of you blocking your whole vision. Uh, and I used to march in the town I grew up in, and every year I would somehow be lined up with the pothole in the street that I'd step in it while I was marching and almost fall.
Oh, that's brutal. See,
And
my thing,
I'd bang the mouthpiece against my tooth because I tripped a little, and I'm like, damn, that hurts.
yeah, that was my thing. I had braces in high school, and they would just be like pow, 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 pow,
Yeah.
pow, and I was like, enough of this, enough of this.
Yeah, it's fine if you're sitting still, but moving, that's tough. Yeah. Well, you could get you to play taps anyway. They would do that for me. I would do the taps response, and I loved that because we'd be at the cemetery, and I'd have to just go hide, be off in the woods somewhere, playing the response.
Yeah, the echo. See,
Yeah,
yeah, I was also the taps kid.
right. Yeah. Cool. Well, we got that in common anyway.
Yeah.
um, but oh man, so much to talk about. So yeah, I mean the trumpet. So the trumpet on the recordings, that's you as well, on your albums.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So because it sounds great, especially some of the more recent ones, especially the way you work the trumpet in. I think. Do you do all the vocals too, or do you have other people? Because some of them have like a background vocal going on. And is that just you layering your own voice, or is it other people as well?
Early on, it was just me, or like,
Yeah.
geez, I don't even remember which one. I had like a couple friends come in, but the more recent stuff, I've been trying to be more collaborative. Normally, when I write a song, I know exactly how I want it to sound.
Hmm.
Like that's part of the process of writing it. Like writing the lyrics, as I'm writing the lyrics, I'm also kind of writing in my head the arrangement,
Hmm.
and it just makes it a lot faster to just be like, I know exactly what I want out of this. Let's just like have one awful day
Yeah.
and just get it all done. But especially as I have gotten more into the scene in Boston and been making more friends, playing on other people's records, and I am I'm really starting to appreciate more and more and more just the feeling of making something with other people.
Hmm.
And so I've been trying deliberately to, you know, not assume that the fastest way is always the best way.
Yeah.
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 Because on the last EP I put out, which was last fall, I just like had a bunch of people over to my apartment and we just made an EP in 2 days.
Yeah,
And that was such an incredible experience. It was like it feels really good to be making music in community with other people. So more recently, yeah, you're gonna hear more other people on the backing vocals, especially, and on harmonies and stuff. My friend Jonah from the band Poster Colors is on harmonies for one of the songs. My spouse Maggie is doing harmonies on A Sailor's Grave, which we're doing in
mhm,
August. And I'm deliberately trying to open the sound up a little bit
yeah,
because I can just keep multi-tracking, but that's always going to sound like me multi-tracking.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's an evolution of the sound, and I think it's going in a great direction. Like it just keeps getting
Thanks.
better. So that's awesome. It was nice. Like in the last couple of days, I was kind of going through each EP and listening and re-listening to be prepared for the this conversation, and going back to the early ones, and then going forward, and hearing the hearing that arc, and it's all good and it's all very different. I mean, sometimes you get to I was really surprised by the song Electric Eels. I have to ask
Oh
what the
yeah.
inspiration for that was, because that was seemed like you really had fun with
Yeah. So that
that.
one was very collaborative. That's got my friend Phineas from the band Tall Travis playing the ukulele. He is a
uh,
phenomenal ukulele player. Like a lot of people I think underestimate the ukulele
mhm,
because it's so easy to get the absolute basics.
mhm.
But like a really good ukulele player just will blow me away any day.
Yeah,
And then my friend Justin also is doing banjo on that.
right.
And it was just so fun. We had already tracked the whole rest of the EP. It was the last thing that we did, and we were just like, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, I wasn't expecting banjo, and I was like, oh, do they play banjo too? How many instruments is this person playing?
Yeah, that was Justin. That wasn't me.
Okay, all right. Well, I had a good laugh because listening to that this morning, because I didn't see it coming. I was kind of blindsided by the electric eels, but
That's how they get you.
right, yeah, absolutely. It's a good cap on the EP. I think it was the last song on that one, right? Yeah,
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 yeah. Because the rest of it's like a little bit heavy. It's very like emotional. Like it's a little gentler than some of the other stuff I put out. And then it's kind of nice to just end with having fun.
yeah, yeah. It was be a little bit silly. Yeah.
Yeah.
um, as for the subject matter with your earlier songs, and for listeners, it's the first time I saw Nick play. This I guess you kind of had to explain some of the songs and to people and give a little bit of the background and what inspired it. And I had walked into the room and heard you say that you were going to just wrap up the set and you didn't have time to explain this one, but you hoped people enjoyed it. And it was I'm going to kick you down the stairs, and I'm like, I know exactly what this song is about. So I had to talk to you after, because I'm like, no way, somebody wrote a song about Aleister Crowley getting kicked down the stairs by WB Yeats. So I mean, I had to buy the music. And it seems like you cover a lot of or at the time you were covering a lot of historical stuff, and you kept doing it. Like one of the more recent ones was a song for Hildegard von Bingen, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's a deep cut. So how do you arrive at these inspirations historically? Like what catches your attention for these particulars?
Well, Hildegard's an easy one because
Right.
she was a an incredibly prolific composer,
Yeah.
um, as well as being a mystic and a botanist and inventing a conlang and all the other crazy stuff that she did with her life.
Right.
Um, so I learned about her just through studying historical music.
Okay.
But the other ones, it's very diverse. I'm particularly attracted to like the history of um, like collectivism and labor rights organization and queer history
Hmm.
and these areas where my modern lens gives me an interpretive an interpretive way to write really about my life and
Hmm.
like about contemporary life through historical situations.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that really attracts me to a particular moment or a particular historical person or the song "Crushed by the Sky" on my record "All Will Be Free" is it's not like obviously about history
Hmm.
um, because it's really about being a queer person in a world that feels very unstable, but it's based on this ancient Celtic belief. And we think of the Celts as like people living in Ireland and the
Hmm.
British Isles. But the Celts were incredibly widespread. Like they reached all the way to like the Balkans
Yeah. Yep.
before eventually contracting. And they had this widespread belief that at some point in the future, the sky would fall on top of them and squish everybody.
Hmm.
Um, and there's this anecdote from Alexander the Great that a delegation of Celts came to Alexander the Great for like peace talks, basically. And Alexander the Great's like, tell me what you fear the most. And
Yeah.
he's like fishing for them to say, we're so afraid of you, Alexander the Great. But what they actually allegedly said was, well, we're all very afraid of the day when the sky is going to fall down and crush us on our heads. Um, and it's a very disarmingly honest answer.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
but it also got me thinking, okay, I also kind of feel like someday the sky is going to fall down and crush me on the head, just in a different and more metaphorical way. Um,
Yeah.
so that had me researching like Bronze Age Celtic deities and like unfortunately the details of the Celtic religions practiced in the Balkans um, in the classical antiquity is like not a lot of information.
Right. Yeah.
But
And what we
there's
do have was written down by monks and stuff, and it was their interpretation of it, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and there's there's like there's a big literacy gap too, like between societies. Like some societies just didn't write stuff down as much,
right.
um, and we're lucky that the Greeks wrote a lot of stuff down, but the Greeks also wrote a lot of stuff down because they were writing a lot of propaganda. So like
Yeah.
it, you kind of have to understand that the person writing the thing was not necessarily trying to write history.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, more often it's like a historiography to say that their place of origin is the best, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Or people just like making stuff up, like Geoffrey of
right.
Monmouth, the great chronicler, um, just invented a bunch of stuff. So
Right.
a lot of
The Arthurian lore and stuff like that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. uh yeah, and that's, and that's considered the legitimate source for a lot of people through history, where they refer to it, right? And then but it's not necessarily, it's not from like the Mabinogion or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's the more time I spend doing history, like as an independent enthusiast, interpreter, like artistically, but also in like historical scholarship research that I'm doing, um, as an academic, the more I'm coming to appreciate that history is an argument
Yeah,
more than it is like any fixed real past.
yeah,
It's a process of arguing,
it
and
is.
yeah,
It's a and it's also a process of people making shit up.
yeah. Because sometimes a really good argument requires you to make shit up.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting, especially when, my forte, and I'm not an academic, but I mean, I do my own independent studies
Which
of
is
the
as
whack.
valuable.
Right. I like to think so. There's definitely room for the autodidacts of the world who aren't pinned down to one speciality. So, um, but I mean, you look at something like the Atlantis myth or something, and it's like, yeah, I mean, this was all made up all along the way by a bunch of different people, but it means a lot to a lot of different people throughout history and was used for a bunch of different types of things, right? So I don't know. I always feel like the history of wacky ideas, especially and really weird stuff, is illuminating in that it shows you how all history is kind of up for interpretation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the history becomes a kind of technology. Like
Yeah.
that we have a need and sometimes we need Atlantis.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Donovan did when he wrote the song. um, yeah. And then that's why I also tend to be really forgiving to people that are like unabashed hoaxers or hucksters or just storytellers, or when people talk about something simply being fiction, I'm like, it's never really simply fiction. It's always tangential to something that's going on at the time or the way somebody feels. And then fictions
Absolutely.
inform people's actual actions later. So, uh, yeah, it's a wild give and take throughout history. Uh,
Yeah. I really don't approach my songwriting as any attempt to write history. Like
right.
I really focus on the story. I focus on like what do I need and what is this making me think of and how can this help me connect my ideas and my life and these other ideas from these dead people, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's that process that's really interesting to me. And that's what draws me to weird history also.
Mhm.
Like I there are a lot of things I really dislike about academia. And
Mhm.
I think there are important times to think empirically and think about what is provably true. But I think also that things that are not provably true are tremendously valuable for shaping how we move about our world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Um, yeah, so it seems like, based on what I'm understanding here, is that a lot of you find ways to see yourself in a lot of these historical figures and relate to like an idea, and then kind of well, I guess it's kind of a fusion of your own experiences through the lens of these historical figures. And given what you said about the fear of being crushed, I had to bring up the song "More Weight." Was that a similar kind of feeling with that? Because I mean, listening to it, I'm like, well, that's Giles Corey. That's got to be
Yeah,
what that's about. Yeah, so
that one's pretty literal. That
that
one's
was on
pretty
the
literal.
nose. Okay, so that's more straight history.
That's more straight history. He
Yeah,
was he was in a field for like
right.
a 2.5 days under a pile of rocks.
And they just kept
Um,
putting more on. Yeah.
yeah. Fun fact about Giles Corey: he once beat a man to death for stealing apples.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not
Wow.
necessarily like a super great guy, but
tough, tough as nails, though.
tough as
Um,
nails and a great story.
right. Yeah. So, for context for listeners, this has to do with the Salem witch trials, right?
hmm
So he was one of the men that was killed because it wasn't all women, but it was something like 7 men were killed during the trials. Or so most of
That
them were
sounds about
hanged.
right to me. Yeah.
Yeah, most of them were hanged, and he was just they just kept putting more rocks on him, trying to get him to confess.
Yeah, because he refused to enter a plea.
Right.
Um, if you entered a plea, um, if he had pled guilty, he would have been excommunicated, but he wouldn't have been killed.
Yeah.
The only people that they killed were people who pled not guilty and the court found guilty, and the
Right.
punishment was death.
Mhm.
And that also um, opened up the like civil asset forfeiture process.
Huh.
So
So as a way
by
of taking their land.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and by refusing to enter a plea, that civil asset forfeiture couldn't happen.
Oh, wow. So really sticking it to him.
Really sticking it to him.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a crazy story, and I was very, at least a little bit familiar with it. And then when I saw the words "more weight," I'm like, "Oh, that's got to be what that's about," and listen to it. And that's it. It's one of the heavier songs too. I mean, it's pretty intense.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes I don't think he would have been super happy about that situation. I wouldn't be super happy about that situation. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, angry is the right tone for
yeah,
that.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So I mean, I guess that one was a little bit more on the nose, but going back to Hildegard for a second,
Mhm.
as far as the mystical experiences and the because I mean she had visions and stuff like that. Is that at all related, or do you see any part of that in what you referred to as your mystical experience in college, or
Well,
you feel like a kinship on that level, or
a little bit. Hildegard had visions. She said she didn't start writing them down until she was well into adulthood, but she said that she'd been having visions ever since she was a child.
right?
And the things that she describes, like splitting headaches and like visual aberrations, sound a lot like she could have had epilepsy.
Hmm.
Uh, or she could have been just having some visions,
Right.
People have some visions for all sorts of reasons. Um, but they were certainly a consistent experience for her. In Scivias, the book of her visions, there are lots. Um,
Yeah.
and the song that you're referring to is based specifically on the last vision in Scivias, um, which she eventually turned into kind of like a proto opera almost,
Hmm.
like a musical morality play. Um, but for me, my mystical experience was a lot less uh, painful.
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
um, I was just in a very rough time in my life, and I just had this sudden and overwhelming feeling of connection to the world, and I had a I felt as though within the world were great strings that were vibrating
Mm.
to the pulse of all life.
Hmm.
And for a moment, I felt that and totally rocked my shit. It was crazy. um, but it was very, very moving. It was very comforting in a time when I badly needed comfort.
Hmm.
Um, and it was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could see that putting you on course, as it were, and inspiring what came after. I mean, it's and you're still young, so I mean, you got a whole road ahead of you with this
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
stuff.
I've I've learned that it's healthiest and safest for me to not push into that anymore,
Yeah,
and let it come if it comes when it comes.
right. And I mean, there'll always be time for that. I mean, I think sometimes the most profound things, in a spiritual sense, especially, uh, sort of don't need the explanation or interrogation, and sitting with it and knowing it is, because let's face it, some of these things are just ineffable anyway. You can't really, you
Yeah.
can't, they're beyond language. And maybe within the grasp of art, sometimes you can sing something that you'd never be able to say. But it's yeah. I mean, I think that's wise. I think it's a wise course of action to not poke it too much, and just because you can remember it. I feel like you remember it better if you're not always analyzing it, trying to relay it to people.
Yeah.
So,
What is your, do you have like a personal connection to mysticism or to,
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, sure. I feel like that's mostly been my path in life, because I feel like I've made sort of a name for myself in the past decade, just talking about paranormal stuff and UFOs. But I always sneak in mysticism and occultism in there, and that's just because that's basically what it, it's basically what I've always been. So I've dabbled in a little bit of everything, and I just kind of have my own kind of idiosyncratic, um, personal ideas about the way the universe works, that I can sympathize with your description of the strings and the oneness and all that, because it seems that sounds right to me. It's um, yeah. I mean, I had a weird experience when I was too young to really remember how old I would have been, but I'd
Mm.
probably between 2 and 4. I had kind of a strange encounter with a pair of luminous entities at the end of my bed that kind of um, opened my eyes to the idea that there's more beyond what people will tell you is going on in the world. And I know I at least have that. Um, and over the course of the time, it's funny, you were talking about witchcraft and going through a witchcraft phase, and I definitely did that. I definitely dug into world religions. Had I got stuck with school, I probably would have pursued that more. They got into a lot of Eastern stuff. I've sat with uh, various types of Buddhism and Buddhist teachers, um, and yeah, I mean, I'm more or less obsessed with the old occult tomes. I love reading those, but I always have a hard time attaching myself to anything specific, except Discordianism, because I can at least joke around and have fun with that. And I feel like humor is important to the whole equation as well, because I feel like everything is kind of inherently absurd. So yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying yes. I feel like the mysticism is infused through everything I think, and it makes me sympathetic to anybody with mystical or kind of spooky or magical beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I experienced what I experienced, but I think I also experienced it in the way that was easiest for me to understand,
Mhm.
you know? Like
Right.
there's so much beyond me, and I think that my brain is going to interpret it in the way that makes it most comprehensible to me. And
Mhm.
you're gonna interpret it in the way that is most comprehensible to you when you come into contact with something that is strange.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it comes up a lot on my show where whatever strange incidents people have, high strangeness is a common term for it.
yeah,
But also, visionary or mystical experiences, they're highly personalized, right?
yeah.
And I'm agnostic about whether the brain even has anything to do with it, because I don't necessarily think consciousness resides there. Um, you know, so I think of it as being consciousness is a big shared thing, but
Hmm.
that has a million different little lenses. But we could get horribly deep in the weeds with all of that and not be able to breathe. um, uh, but yeah, no, it's certainly interesting, and yeah, I wasn't prepared to answer her question tonight. I was just going to ask them, so that now it's got me thinking.
Well, it's interesting, like people come to this stuff from all sorts of different ways. People just think it's like fun or interesting, and some people come to it because their life bends in that direction unbidden.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever the case, I do think the connections are important in making connections with other people, um,
Absolutely.
in a variety of ways. And I tend to think that art is one of the best ways to do that. Art and music and any kind of self-expression. So that's why I make it a point to try to really include a lot of art and music on this show. Even so um, I think I tend to think it's all part of a greater picture. So,
Yeah.
uh,
It's kind of
but
like a pet obsession for me. Like I feel like if I can give if I can give somebody an artistic experience that is one fourth as effective and immersing as 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 some of the things that I've felt and experienced, and I think that is the ultimate culmination of artistic performance for me is like because that's something you can share in the same room with people, you know? It's
yeah,
not you in your bed with your visitors in the night
right.
because because then you get to have a fraction of that in a room with 50 people,
Yeah,
and that's a particular kind of magic.
yeah, I like to think so. Um, when I used to play music, my favorite thing was lead guitar, and I always felt like there were some things on in a guitar solo that you could say that it doesn't translate in words, and sometimes you could really, if the whole crowd gets there with you on that
Yeah,
right series of notes when you play, it's magical, and it's magical being in the crowd too for some of these things. So yeah, I have a really loose definition of magic, but I think it's appropriate.
I
Um,
yeah, I can get behind that.
right. Well, I did want to before we close out, I did want to get back to um, a sailor's grave because I feel like maybe we didn't underline how much of a project this is, and the fact that you're going to be performing it live soon in Boston. So if I have
Yes.
listeners, yeah, listeners that might be local, um, I think I probably have a few at least. Let's talk about that a little bit. How is that performance going to come together, and the details and where it is?
Yeah. Well, it's been a long labor, and it's very exciting for me that it's finally about to come to fruition. It is August 7th at 7 p.m. and August 8th at 4 p.m. at the Black Box Theater at the Boston Center for the Arts, um, on on Tremont Street. So it's really the the most I can possibly make a concert experience into um, the feeling of being told a bedtime story
Hmm.
by uh, the fireside, except it's an evil bedtime story about Dracula eating all of your colleagues.
So the nightmare inducing kind of, or maybe not if you're into that kind of thing. It might not
Hey, yeah, yeah. Takes all
be.
kinds. Takes all kinds. So yeah, it's a bigger musical ensemble than I've worked with before.
Mm.
Um, there's like a whole string section and non-traditional percussion, and also me playing the lute, and there's harmonium and all sorts of cool stuff. And the big thing that's been absorbing all of my time for the last like 2 weeks is I'm working with a theatrical lighting designer for the first time,
Wow.
and my a friend of mine who's a visual artist is designing projections, um, and we're gonna incorporate some shadow puppetry also with the projections, and to try to make this bigger in visual scope to complement this like wider musical scope also.
Yeah, it sounds excellent. All right, gonna definitely, after we're done talking, get tickets, and my wife and I will go because
Yeah,
I was mentioning it to her beforehand, and we're looking it up, and I'm like, I think we have something going on the 8th, but we can definitely do the 7th. So,
excellent, excellent.
yeah, yeah. Now, for people that aren't anywhere near Boston, there was a Kickstarter for this as well, and is this going to be like an album that or that they can get their hands on eventually, or for people that aren't close enough to go to the Black Box Theater, is there a way they're going to be able to enjoy it in the future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
This entire project is going to be made into a live album, which will hopefully be released this fall. I'm aiming for like a soft October release,
yeah,
uh, and it's this process has just been so rewarding and intense, and I really want the recorded product of this to reflect as closely as possible being in the room
hmm,
when this all goes down. So it was important for me to make this like a live album rather than a more studio produced thing,
yeah,
because the like we talked about a little earlier with working in more collaboration on this last EP
hmm,
and just having people in the room. I feel like the energy in the room does make it onto the record, you know?
it does.
And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm excited to see what the energy in the room does for the record that this becomes.
hmm, yeah. I see. That would concern me though. That's almost like that's like the high wire act of live performance in music is hoping to catch it, because then I feel like you have to put it out of your mind completely. You get up there and just hope that that recorder is going to catch up. Forget it's there, because uh, um, I'm not worried about you. I'd be worried about me if it were me, because I feel like I'd jinx it or something, you know. But it's a little bit nerve wracking knowing that this is gonna be it. But
Yeah. Well, hey, we got more than one show, so if one's a real
right, yeah,
stinker,
just
then we got a
record
backup.
both. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. So I'm excited about it. I did kick in some money for the Kickstarter, and is there still time for people to do that, or did you meet your goal on that?
Well,
Uh,
we did meet the goal, but
oh, okay, that's great.
there are still late pledges available if you want to pre-order the album. Um, that's still available through the Kickstarter page. if you search for Captain Vampire or A Sailor's Grave Kickstarter, or just through the Kickstarter search function, you should turn it up no problem. Um, and right now, that's the only way to reserve a copy of the record before it comes out. But it
Mhm.
will just be available for purchase, and just like all the other stuff on Bandcamp and on various streaming platforms.
Cool, cool, great. Well, that's good to know, and people will highly encourage people to check it out. And I'll be sharing stuff on social media when it's available too. Um, all right. Well, so if my listeners do want to come find you, you mentioned Bandcamp, so that should be easy enough. Captain Vampire on Bandcamp.
Mhm.
What about social media?
The most consistently updated social media is my Instagram, which is at CAPT Vampire. But I'm also updating my website, captvampire.com,
Okay.
with show details, and all of the liner notes for all of my work are also up on my website, because not everybody gets the CDs, you know. A lot of
Right.
people are listening digitally, and I want to make sure that all of the weird, uh, all of the weird history is properly annotated somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Because you're not right there to explain it to people every time, but and
Yeah,
not
exactly.
everybody's like freak like me that will recognize it. So
Yeah, and I can't show up in your house every time you play the song and be like, "This one is about whatever, whatever, whatever."
not yet, anyway.
No, no, that'll require a new level of mystical ascension. That we'll see. We'll see if I get there.
All right, excellent. This has been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I had a lot of fun picking your brain about your music and history and all kinds of weirdness.
This has been so sick. AP, thank you so much for having me on.